Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Success in Motion podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, joined by Chaunté Gilmore. Chaunté has a pretty impressive background. She is actually, she has a background in healthcare and is the first African American to run for the state representative of House District 100. And she led the way for the election of the first Latina mayor of Bethany, Oklahoma. Chaunté, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here, and thank you for the warm welcome.
Perfect. Chaunté, tell me a little bit about you. What got you into wanting to run for office, and how were you influential in getting the first Latina, as helping the first Latina, paving that way to get them elected as mayor?
Mm-hmm. So I am a healthcare worker. I've known since I was 11 years old that I wanted to practice physical therapy. And so from 11 all up into my teenage and adult years, getting into physical therapy assistant school, I've always known that was the track I was going to go. I was actually hit by a car when I was 11 years old. And so I had to go through the whole rehab process of learning how to walk again. And that whole spectrum of seeing healthcare of my surgeon, my anesthesiologist, my nurses, my doctors, things like that. The physical therapist was the one that stood out the most to me. And helped me the greatest, I felt like. And so from that experience, I knew that's what I wanted to do with life, was to help people regain their function back by practicing physical therapy. And so had a goal, achieved that goal, and did that for, post-graduation for about 10 years. I'm a practicing physical therapist assistant for the last 13 years. So, or now 14 years as of last May. 14 years, I got to add a year to that
Nice.
now. But so I was just in Northwest Oklahoma City, practicing in various healthcare settings, in hospital, home health, and skilled nursing facilities. And, towards the middle of my career, I just felt compelled to give back to community. And so I didn't know exactly how to do that, because I knew I was born for more than just practicing physical therapy and impacting my patients in a positive manner. And so I just took, the first steps of, joining different organizations here in the metro and across the state, and doing a lot of leadership organizations trainings to help me understand what board governance was and how to lead in community authentically. And so from those experiences, like I said, I attached myself to many organizations that touch the heart of community, and that's where my heart is. And so your question was what got me into politics and running to run for office. And I will always tell people I did not want to run for office because I am not a politician. When I was asked that question through the years, I always told people I'm a healthcare worker and I just serve in community. And then I just go home. That's it. That is all I do. Right. But because I love community and I have been in the heart of community just through the years, I felt compelled to help serve in a different capacity than what I was doing. And so I decided to run for office.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. What made you want to run for the House instead of a different office?
Right. So if you're going to run for any office, it's always good to do, background information of what will fit for you, your personality, and what's the greatest impact. And so, like I said, the greatest impact that I saw, that because I was always in community, serving various communities, when it came to healthcare, public education, criminal justice reform, those communities that I cared about, especially marginalized communities, the policies that were impacting those communities, those decisions were made at the state capitol. And so it was one of those things of, it wasn't school board or it wasn't county assessor. It was either the state senator or the state representatives, because they won, those state legislatures impact your life once they're elected. And so that was the route I chose to go, because I knew the policies that were coming out of our state house impacted Oklahomans day one.
Okay. So there is a lot of competition in politics.
Mm-hmm.
There's a, excuse me, there's an election that you have to win, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you almost won that election. You were less than 300 votes away from becoming the next representative of the House of District 100.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that sets you apart from other people who are in uh, politics?
I think when it comes to messaging of how you present yourself, what you have did prior in community, set yourself apart from people that ran, on as I was primaried for this last election. So what made me different from my opponent or even the incumbent was that I was prior to me actually running. People knew who I was in community. They knew I was serving in community. And so that's, I always tell people if you're going to run for office that you have to have a heart, for community. You already have to be serving. It's not that you pop up and say, hey, I want to run for office because I want this title. I don't care about a title. What I care about is people. And so that was something that resonated with people when I would door knock on their doors, is that they had already heard about me prior to me even coming to their door. Because why? I was serving in community prior to running for office.
So if I wanted to run for office, obviously
Mm-hmm.
I need to have the right mindset. I need to have my heart in the right place of serving people, because that's what office is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be, is serving the
Mm-hmm.
community that you live in. If I wanted to get in that, other than having the right mindset, where would I even begin to think about starting that kind of
Mm-hmm.
career or journey?
So there are other organizations that will train you to be a candidate. So they'll teach you about fundraising and your call time and door knocking. Um, the one thing that I learned this last campaign is that when you go to knock on your neighbor's door and say, introduce yourself as a candidate, that resonates with people. They're just like, you took the time out on a Saturday or a Tuesday night to come and chat with me about what I care about in my local government. And we may differ, and we may agree, but you took the time as a candidate to come and talk to me. And so in my district, I knocked 25,000 doors over a 2-year time span. So it was one of those things that I talked to a lot of people. Didn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent. I was on your door talking to you because I cared about what you wanted as my neighbor and as an Oklahoman. So yes, when it comes to learning how to run for office, yes, you want to understand policy. And so they definitely have candidate schools. The state chamber, which focus on businesses, they actually have a candidate school that you can go to, and other respective organizations that are similar to the state chamber or whatnot have candidate schools. So this, and it doesn't matter what spectrum or where you lie on the spectrum as a candidate. There's various organizations that have candidate schools that can teach you about how to run for office, of getting your messaging across and choosing your consultants and your door knocking schedule and your fundraising schedule and things like that. So, and what you are going to, look like to the public as you run for office. So there's various ways that, you can become a candidate, but definitely get in the training prior, knowing what office, identify the office you want to run for, and then going to candidate school so you can learn every aspect of what a campaign should look like.
So if I'm just a gregarious guy and I just like to talk to people, and I'm good at speaking with people and sharing messages, and I have a good heart and I want to get out there, can I just go run for office, or do I have to go through this candidate training to be even in the running?
So I didn't go to candidate training the first time. So this is my second time to run. So the first time I ran, I was asked to run, and so it was one of those things that I asked a couple people in the community of, what do you think? Like I said, I've been asked for years to run for office, but I didn't. My first go round, I did not go to candidate school, and so I showed up to the state capitol during filing time, filed my application, paid my fee. And, it was just my dad and I, and we ran a state campaign for HD 100. And knocked doors and, hosted events and things like that. So I didn't have the full training of, doing the call time and definitely the sequence of the amount of doors that I was knocking that I should have. But the second time going around, going to candidate training school, I wish I would have had that experience the first time, because I would have learned so much more and implemented a lot of things that I learned in candidate school the first time that I did the second time. So the first time I ran, I lost by 1,000 votes. And then the second time I ran, I lost by 297. So I closed that margin.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how we can buy other people's experience through going to some type of school, through getting coaches, through watching YouTube videos, through just any number of things, hanging out with people who are doing what you want. And too often we don't take advantage of the collective knowledge that we have as a people. And we think that, oh, I can just go do it myself. Yeah, you probably can go do it yourself, but are you going to get the best results?
Right.
Are you going to stumble on every single obstacle along your way? Or are you going to go and listen to somebody, find a coach, find a mentor, find somebody who's been there, who's done that, who can say, step over this puddle because it's deeper than it looks, who can say, go around this ravine because even though it's going to add a lot of time to go around, there's dangerous stuff at the bottom of that ravine that you don't want to be a part of, right? And so having somebody who can, quote, hold your hand through this process and show you the ropes, it takes you so much farther ahead in everything that you do. If it is riding a bike, if it's running for office, if it's getting a job, if it's starting a business, whatever you're doing, if you can find somebody who's already done it, but not just done it, but done it successfully, then you can close that gap of what's possible so quick. It reminds me of a story of the guy who was trying to run the 4-minute mile. It was forever, it was considered impossible to run a 4-minute mile for the human body. It just wasn't physically possible for the human body to run a 4-minute mile. And then one guy decided, you know what? I don't care what you say. I'm going to go do it. And so he went and did it. Within that same year of him doing it, 12 more people ran under a 4-minute mile.
Right.
Was that because there was a genetic mutation that happened all of a sudden? I don't think so. I think it's because somebody set the example of this is what you have to do to make it. It's possible. You can do this. And then those other people followed and they succeeded.
Right. And I have great examples of that, because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. Because I've served in community, I have friends and associates across the political spectrum on both sides of the aisle. And so once I ran for office, it was one of those things. I started getting contacted by people that wanted to run for different offices that were Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian. It was all because they saw a regular person run for office and step out and put their name on the ballot. It didn't matter what your political background was. It was one of those things that if you can do it, and I've seen you in community serving, and I do the same thing, then I can do it. So help me do it, Chaunté. And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and then you take them as far as you can get them. Maybe you can't get them 100% there, but if you can get them 50% there or 75% there, they're already that much further along the process than if they had just gone and done it on their own, which is a huge blessing to your community, especially if that candidate is somebody that you believe in and you can support. So changing gears here a little bit.
Okay.
People are talking about a buzzword. I love buzzwords, right?
Okay.
For better or worse, buzzwords. They're talking about juggling your work and your personal life in this buzzword called work-life balance.
Okay.
Is that something, in your opinion? And if so, how do you manage it?
Oh, wow. Okay. So that is something I'm currently in process of learning. I have been on the last 2 to 3 months, I have been on a journey of making sure I pour back into Chaunté, because for so long, especially the last 2 to 3 years of when you're a candidate running for office, that's a full-time job. and I still worked full time, right? And so I did that for a full 3 years. And so I gave all the time, but I didn't really pour into myself. And so when I lost the election, it was one of those things that I had to take a step back and figure out Chaunté and take a rest break, and see what my value was and how I can continue to pour into community. And so, like I said previously, that I'm in process. And so, one of the things that I know I'm called, I have a purpose that I'm supposed to fulfill. But in order for me to be 100% effective in that, I have to pour into myself. And so, you have to take a step back. I know the big buzzword is self-care days, and have a massage and have a facial, and I'm that girl. I do all those things. But what are you doing if you're a spiritual person to feed your spirit? When it comes to your mental health, how are you handling your mental health? So when it comes to the work and self-care balance that you have within yourself, I'm in process of learning how to do that, because I always overgave to everything else around me besides giving to myself. And so now I'm taking a step back. And so I'm understanding the value of the word no, and that's a complete sentence. That when people want me to come and join their board or volunteer for this or take over this or just whatever, if I have capacity and I felt compelled and have a desire to do that, then yes, I do. But if I know I'm, having the candle burnt on both ends, then you will get a no. and that's it. I'm not going to explain. It's just I need to take care of myself. I got a message today to have a meeting on the weekend, and I said I really like to have my weekends to myself now, so I can just rest, so I can prepare for the week, because I'm jam packed with meetings during the week, with my community meetings, and then I still work full time. Like I said, like you said in my bio, I'm a director of rehab, so I got to make sure that my department is ran efficiently and my patients are still taken care of. So Monday to Friday, I'm really packed. So I need my weekend to take care of Chaunté. And so in order for me to continue to do life and to pour out into community and into my job, I first have to take a step back and take care of Chaunté first. And that's okay to do that.
I think that's really cool that you're talking about taking care of yourself first. There's been a lot of studies on taking care of yourself. If you go to work pretty much anywhere in the US, you're going to be required to take a 15-minute break before lunch, a 30-minute to an hour break for lunch, and then a 15-minute break in the afternoon.
Not in healthcare. we continue to work nonstop.
So most industries. We'll exclude healthcare because that's a little bit more demanding. But for most industries, you're going to be required to get those breaks. Those breaks that they put in there, I always found them annoying, because once I start a project, I want to go through and I want to do the project. I want to get through it, complete it, dive in, not be disrupted, and get to the end of my day and wrap it up and then go get on to something else. And now that I'm an entrepreneur, I live by that, right? I tend to dive deeper into things than maybe I should, for longer than maybe I should. But there was a lot of research that was done to create those 15-minute breaks. And you don't have to agree with them, but you definitely have to be aware of the psychology behind those. They find that if you can take a 15-minute break, disconnect from whatever you're doing, and then come back to it, you'll come back with a new perspective. You'll have more energy, right? Because you let your body rest. You'll come back with new ideas, because during that 15 minutes, when you're thinking about something else, your subconscious works on whatever that task is that you've been working on. And then you come back and you're not overwhelmed with that task anymore. It's refreshing to come back and be able to start that over again. And so, yes, you need to focus on getting things done. You need to focus on what you're doing. But if you're just sitting there spinning your wheels because you're so deep, so connected to the issue at hand that you can't see the big picture, take 15 minutes and do whatever you want. It can be breathing exercises, go for a quick walk, take a quick nap, whatever it is that you need to do. Just change what you're doing and then come back to that task, you'll be amazed at how much easier it is to finish that task
Right.
than it was to do the task before that break. And so for me, taking care of yourself is super important, right? I don't want to work 60 hours a week. Sometimes I have to,
Right.
right? Sometimes I get to work 20 hours in the week. As an entrepreneur, you do what it takes to get the job done to meet the goal.
Right.
But the days that I'm super intentional about my time and not burning the candle at both ends,
Mm-hmm.
I can get more done than on the time when I'm just full throttle, get it done, push through, got to get everything done, and then at the end of the day, I'm super tired, super burned out. It bleeds into the next day, and I'm not as productive the next day. So finding time to take care of yourself is super important.
Right.
And yes, I believe that there is a season for pushing. There's a season for going and knocking 25,000 doors because that's what needs to be done in a short amount of time. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're not going to have time to go and spend 15 minutes on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But you do, at the end of that push, need to recalibrate and
Mm-hmm.
take that time, just like you're doing. You're setting some time. Your weekends are sacred now. You go and you do Chaunté time during the weekends. And that is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. For
Mm-hmm.
me, the balance of life, work-life balance, juggling that is not so much a pound for pound. Every hour I'm spending working, I need to go be doing something for myself, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
quality of life type thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing the when you're doing work, do work.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing other things, do those things, but be present wherever you are.
Right.
When you're working on your campaign, go all in and do that campaign. When you're at home eating dinner, take some time, set the phone down, eat that dinner, even if it's just
Drink
10
some water.
minutes, right?
Right.
Drink that water, disconnect for a minute, and then come back to it.
Right.
So that's my 2 cents on work-life balance.
And it makes you a
Um,
better person, a better leader, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's easier to lead people when you're not completely exhausted than when you have no energy to even keep yourself upright.
Right.
Um, well, it sounds like things are going pretty well for you in the political arena, the healthcare arena. You're doing great things. You're getting out there. You're being a part of your community. Um, a lot of people are looking towards the future and how they
Mm-hmm.
can create passive income or
Mm-hmm.
to enhance or even replace their current active income. What are
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts on passive income?
I think if you are able to have another stream of income to help alleviate your full-time job, I'm so for it, and you should do it. You know, I'm around a lot of entrepreneurs, and so our aspiring entrepreneurs trying to figure out what their passive income is going to be. And I always tell people, you know, look right in front of you because what you are passionate about and what your calling is right there. And so I always get the pushback of, well, I don't know what it is or whatever. And I'm like, just slow down, pour into yourself. You got to take a step back and it'll come to you of what it is, right? And so that's exactly what happened to me when I, you know, like I said years ago when I was working as a therapist and trying to figure out next steps. And, you know, my spiritual mentor, she was like, your calling and your passion is right in front of you. And I was like, no, it's not. I don't know what it is, you know. And then just through time, just serving and continuing to follow my passions, not knowing what my passions were, just taking those next steps and stepping out. I learned what I cared about. And so that's what I would tell any entrepreneur that you have to make sure you know who you are and go within yourself. And you'll find what you care about. And so, with things that you care about, you can turn that into income. There's a way to do it.
Yeah, there's something to be said about turning things into income. Most people, if you ask them how do people make money, they'll list off 10, 20, maybe 100 different jobs that they can think of because that's all they focus on. It's what
Mm-hmm.
most people focus on. But there are literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of ways to make money.
Mm-hmm.
You can make money by creating TikTok videos.
Right.
Videos of you talking nonsense, put it online and people watch those, right? If that can make money, then whatever you're passionate about, you can figure out how to make money doing it, right?
Right.
And so the biggest thing that people have, in my opinion, the challenge is they think either I'm not good at anything, they sell themselves short, or what I'm good at, nobody else is interested in. And so they don't share those talents and those skills. Let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you, if you're interested in it, there's somebody else in this world who's interested in it.
Right.
All you need to do is figure out how to reach out and connect to those people and provide value to them in some way.
Right.
And that can be anything from collecting crickets to building cars to building real estate. Like anything can be a business idea. You just have to have the gumption to go and pursue it. And if you don't know how to do that, I'm sure there's somebody in your community or just outside of your community that you can go and find. Just like all of these people started coming to you for election advice, like how do I do this and how do I do that, right? Go
Right.
find somebody who's doing what you want to do or something similar, and follow them,
Right.
and
And
you'll be
that's
able to
all it
do
is.
it. Yeah.
And you can apply that to anything when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to if you want to be a podcaster that teaches people how to cook or sew or, you know, put on makeup or just whatever you care about and are passionate about, you can turn that into a business. And so you look, like you said, you look at TikTok and there's so many things on TikTok and I'm like, how do they make money off of that? And they're always posting and they're getting their algorithm up and all that stuff. And you're just like, man, how can I do that to make money? Or, I have a friend that he didn't know that he was into construction until he helped, one of his friends in New York recently. And so now he is starting his own construction business. And so he's been traveling, getting his internship, trying to get that stuff done. So if he didn't step out and offer to help, he would have never known. And look where this path has taken him. So it's one of those things you have to step out first and rest, know who you are, and then step out.
Yes, I love it. And then also, whatever it is that you decide to go do, understand what you're getting yourself into. I've prefaced this question with passive income.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things in this world that are positioned as passive income, real estate being one of those. Being a landlord. Being a landlord is not passive. That is active income. You're managing a business. And so understanding what that is, if you want to go create active income, go do it. I'm not telling you not to. Just understand that it is a job. Now, you might get to a point where you can go hire somebody to do the majority of the work in that, and then it's more passive. But you have to do something to make that happen. And so understanding what you're willing to put into it versus what you need to get out of it. And if you can match those two things up, run with it. And don't
mind and heart.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to fail, because failure is not the end, but failure is an opportunity to learn and then go and try it again.
All right.
Well, as we're wrapping up our interview today, what plans do you have for initiatives in the works for the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh, wow. Everybody has been asking me that recently. They're like, you're going to run profits again? And I'm like, probably not. I don't know. It's a possibility, but I think for me, I want to pour into Chaunté, make sure that I am healthy mentally and emotionally and spiritually, so I can give back into community and make sure that my community is taken care of. And it may involve me running for office, it may not, but right now it's just making sure that I am authentically showing up for me, and so I can authentically show up for community.
That is a worthy goal. You definitely need to recover. As I said earlier, there's a season for everything. You just pushed for 3 years really hard. It's time for you to take some me time and figure out what's next. Recharge, refresh, get there. Awesome. Chaunté, thank you so much for your time today. sharing insights and tips on different things that we've talked about. If people would like to get in touch with you, what would you recommend they do?
I am on all the social medias, so you can definitely get in contact with me on my LinkedIn, Chaunté Gilmore. I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Twitter, or formerly X, formerly Twitter. So all of the social media platforms, I am the one responding to you. I may not be able to get in contact with you as quickly as within 24 hours, but I do respond and look at the messages. So if not, you can always email me at Gilmore, Gilmore, FORK at gmail.com. So Gilmore for OK at gmail.com.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you want to reach out to Chaunté, use one of those methods, and I'm sure she would love to chat with you about anything that we've discussed or anything else that might come up. And this is the end of the Success in Motion podcast. We're excited to have had you here, Chaunté. We're excited for all of our listeners who have joined us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.